Welcome back to Purple Noon, the podcast with Stephanie Conti, me, and my sweet pea, Savanna Lanausse. How are you doing, Savanna?
Enchanté, everyone. We're doing another French now.
Enchanté. Hey, so I want to ask you real quick before we dive in, would you eat a pale cookie? This is nothing to do with what we're going to be talking today, but this is an honest question. Would you eat a chocolate chip cookie that was a little bit on the anemic side?
Well, like, what color are we talking? Like gray or just like
No, not gray, and not like jaundice, but like just like a pale, like my skin. I'm very,
Okay.
very pale. For those who don't know.
Like a pale beige we're talking about? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because I feel like most sugar cookies can be pale, so I really wouldn't have I mean, as long as they were fully cooked, I don't think it's a problem if the coloring was off, you know?
Okay, because I'm upset because I made really good chocolate chip cookies last night, like soft baked, like pull apart and like the chocolate oozes, like that type of goodness.
Oh.
Like Chips Ahoy has nothing on me, and I made it from scratch. And I was like, "Mama," like 'cause I just do that, "Mama," and I made the chocolate chip cookies. I'm like, "Mom, these are the best cookies I've ever made. You gotta try them." And she looked at them. She's like, "I'll pass." And I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken. She's like, I'm like looking at her. I'm like, what? I baked chocolate chip cookies from scratch. You were on board. They taste delicious. They're cooked to perfection. What's wrong? And she's like, they're pale. I don't eat pale cookies. As if that's a thing.
That's very specific. She's just
And
like,
I'm just
no.
still upset. I'm just still upset because they were phenomenal. I was so angry. I ate like 4 in rage. Now I don't have enough cookies left over for the week. I don't have enough flour to make another batch. And now I know that when I make the best cookies ever, and even my mom was like, I don't care if they're the best cookies ever. I'm not eating a pale cookie.
Is she just turned off by the cut? Like, is that how she is with food? That's really funny if that is.
Could you imagine how she feels about my skin tone? Because me and that cookie were on the same color scale. Jesus Christ.
Now you know.
Oh, man.
You know the truth now.
Okay. All right. Well, I just needed to get that because I've been holding that in for too many hours.
I would eat your cookie. I'd eat your pale cookie.
I really appreciate that. You know, after this quarantine, I will bake you some and I will record your reaction and I will show my mother. I'll be like, look at that. That's happiness right there. See what you're missing out? God.
It'd be like 3 months later. Okay.
So, enough of my cookie rant. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Today, we're going to be talking about a French film called 2 or 3 Things I Know About Her. Now, before getting into the review, I want to give a little synopsis on what this movie is about, who made it, when it came out, and where you can find it. So 2 or 3 Things I Know About Her is a French film, and the plot as described by IMDb is a day in the life of a Parisian housewife / prostitute interspersed with musings of the Vietnam War and other contemporary issues. And I believe this was made in 1967. It's an hour-and-a-half film. And it is directed by a famous French, I believe the genre is like French New Wave, was like, I've read a few film textbooks in my life. So French New Wave master Jean-Luc Godard. And it's got a few writers. It's got Jean-Luc Godard as one of the writers, but it's actually based off a letter. And it stars Marina Vladi and I don't speak French, guys, Annie Duperret. And so those are the 2 main female leads in this film. And I already discussed this with Sweet Pea over here, that with this film, we're just going to start from the get-go. We're just going to say, if you have not seen this work from the director, or if you are not interested in any of the works that are mentioned in 2 or 3 Things I Know About Her, I don't recommend this movie. I mean, do you, Savanna?
So here's the thing. I think Stephanie is totally right. If you don't know this director or his like work, don't watch it. But if you don't like watching a non-traditional plot, non-traditional dialogue, because the movie isn't very typical in terms of like,
oh, it's different. It's a different movie. You're not going to see a movie like it. And so if you want that experience, go for it.
Yeah, definitely it's different. I think everyone should watch it just because it is a different experience, but I mean, I'm just gonna say it, that's probably one of the things I didn't necessarily care for. So if you don't if you're not into like unique plot, I guess, like or not really there's is a lack of a plot in my opinion.
Hmm.
There is a lack of traditional dialogue. So if you guys like the traditional storyline, if you're into that, then I wouldn't recommend this movie too because it's a slow burn. It's very slow to begin with. So if you're already not into that, it's not going to work.
But if you aren't into that and you want to know still what we think, keep listening because we're going to start spoiler alert right now because there's really not a way to talk about this film without spoiling it, I
Yeah.
think. It's like because it does not have the traditional plot that follows introduction to character. There's a conflict and then resolution. It does not behave in that sense in any way, shape, or form. So if you still do want to watch this film, here's your spoiler alert now. It's available on the Criterion channel, and I believe they have it on Prime as well. But if not, if you just want to hear what we got to say, all the spoilers included, we're going to start with a mouthful of spoilers right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
let's do it.
so, okay, this automatically when I got midway to the film, I realized what this reminded me of. It reminded me of like a David Lynch student film,
Mhm.
but with a political background. Not necessarily like dreams and morality was involved, but definitely politics,
Yeah.
materialism, and consumerism was a big, in my opinion. I mean, it's kind of obvious too, especially with how it ends. Like the final shot is
Yeah.
of, all of these typical household products and how it's shaped the story. Now, what did you think about that whole, I guess you could say, journey? Like how it went through and like how it told not really a story, but the director's opinion. What did you think about that?
I think in terms of a movie, just like a social commentary, because it definitely is a political statement, social commentary. I think it did a really unique and cool thing with it. I think the director kind of just it's almost like like a visual collage. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely like some kind of really cool. It reminded me of a really cool art project, and I really liked the whole there's a story, but then the narrator kind of takes a break and gives this. I don't know if it's poetry. I don't know if you said it was poetry or it was from
Yeah,
books
it's
or
actually
something.
a lot of the stuff that he says is, and I didn't realize this at first, but a lot of everything that he says is almost a direct quotation from different theories and different theses and different, books relating to psychology, economics, things like that. A majority of it is quotations.
Yeah. So I think he did a really good job with picking his quotations because it all kind of like you never kind of sat and watched the film and been like, I have no idea what that means. I mean, sometimes you kind of have to sit there and be like, take a minute to figure it out, but like you kind of do when the narrator takes that break to talk, you do kind of see what direction they're going in. So in terms of like the social commentary, the political statement, I do think they did a really good job at doing something unique and I don't like it when movies spoon feed you information,
Hmm.
like because I don't think you should be talking to your audience like they're stupid. So I think he did a great job at sort of treating us as intelligent individuals with our own, minds and opinions. So I did like that about the film.
I I did enjoy it, and I think I enjoyed it because I enjoyed his other film, Vivi Se Vie,
Hmm.
which is it's about a not a housewife, but it's about a young actress who dives into the world
Stephanie,
of prostitution.
I remember I've seen it because you gave me the Criterion DVD.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and I don't know if you noticed, but there's in one scene, there's actually a portrait of the main character from Vivi Se Vie. Did you notice that?
No, because I saw the movie more than a year ago. It's
That's
been
okay.
it's been too long for me to like I don't remember a lot of details, but I do remember the main plot and I did like that movie more than this one, I will say.
I feel like this one was like a different alternative to the director's version of Vivi Se Vie,
Yeah.
but with a almost like a PowerPoint slide commentary. And I
Mhm.
don't mean that in a negative way. It's just that's just how it felt. One of the and with the quotations and stuff like that, one of the things that I agree with how you say that he didn't spoon feed you. And a lot of what he said, I did enjoy listening to because it did make me think. If you don't like to think, if you don't like to think, if you just want to see everything pan out, this isn't something I would recommend for that. But like, there's like a quote that I wrote down, and I wrote it very quickly, so I could be off by like a word or two. But the whole point was like, language is a house that man lives in. And it's just things like that. I'm like, what? What does that mean? Like,
No.
and I'm just sitting under my blanket, like thinking about that for 5 minutes. But I enjoy being in that state.
Yeah, no, because let me tell you, there are a lot of things. I don't remember. Don't quote this exactly, but they were saying, "Oh, if you can't afford LSD, buy a color TV." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like something as simple as that. I'm like, wow.
What are you doing, Jean-Luc? You're doing something to our brains.
So I think we can both agree that's a really strong aspect of the movie. Like a really good. Like I think we all agree like things like that are really important. And I can see why it's in the Criterion channel because
there's nothing like it.
I don't know another film that's telling me that LSD is like TV and all this stuff, and that's gonna make you sit there and go, what did he say? Like what?
Or films that like just show like espresso, like very beautifully poured espresso. I don't know why that was a big thing. Like the espresso scene, I was just drooling over because it just looks so good. But the espresso scene, and like it's just like pretty much telling you the love you have is not what you think, and you're just like you're just like in this mental state where you're like, what? So I'm someone who likes reading like philosophy, like books. Like I've read some Nietzsche. I've read, like books like Nausea, things like that. So I enjoy stuff like this. I enjoy like this. But if you like, I enjoy the little existential crises I had along the way of this film.
Yeah. So I really, really, really like that point of the film. The only thing, this is the only negative thing I'm going to say about the, the small parts of where the film kind of stops where the narrator could talk. I got really, really tired of hearing the whisper. So if you don't know, there's the narrator is whispering the whole time. So he's like, like that's what you hear. So I'm just sitting there. I'm like, okay, he could have like talked in a real voice at some point. I mean, at first it was cool, but the whispering to me did get a little tedious, and I was just kind of like, I'm kind of tired after an hour of the whispering.
That is how I felt as well. The whispering, at some point I was like, ooh, like at first I was like,
it gets your attention.
Maybe,
yeah,
it does. Like I thought it was like maybe symbolism for like an internal thought. I was like, oh, maybe that's why Jean-Luc is doing this. But then like as I got halfway through the film, I'm like, Christ, I kept having to stop the movie just because I kept getting so tired. I had to do something else, rev up my energy again, and then come back to it. It's only an hour and a half film, but I think it took me like 2.5 hours to watch.
It's a really tedious. It's a really tedious part of the movie, and I really felt like they could have used a normal voice at some point. Maybe half an hour in, the guy could have just started talking normally, because I feel like that got really annoying quick. Like,
how did you feel about the characters that they tried to use to tell some type of narration? It wasn't a full commit. It was more like a documentary style, for those who don't know. It was like you'd have these moments where these characters would interact, and then they would look at the camera as if they were being interviewed and just give tell them their thoughts and everything like that. What did you think about the characters that they chose?
I'm going to be completely honest. I do want to talk about the main character next because I loved her, but I did not care about anybody else except for the main character. Like,
the husband was a bore.
Oh my God. Like, girl, no wonder why she's going out prostituting. I'm just saying. But I don't know how I felt because I didn't care. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It was just, I'm the type of person that gets really, I try to connect with the characters I watch in movies. And obviously not every character you're going to connect with, you're going to like. But with these little things, even though I did like some of the commentary they made, others I was just like, I really could care less. Like, I don't care about.
Yeah, I think I realized that like midway, I was in it for the internal dialogue, like that whispering, rather than the characters that were on screen. Because at some point, like the main character, what was her name? The main character, Juliette.
Yeah.
I realized at some point, I'm like, this woman ain't going anywhere. I'm not seeing a climb. I'm not seeing character development. I'm just seeing shit. So
That
I was just like, I just kept going with it for the director and his commentary and what his, like, kind of like, it just felt like a big chess game. Like, it just felt like he was kind of just putting these people in position, maneuvering them, manipulating them in this big, big chess game. But at the end of the day, it was like, I didn't want to see the pieces move. I just wanted to know why the pieces moved, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. I did want to talk about the main character a little bit because I think me and you are on the same page with that. So I really liked the beginning, and I really liked the character's background with good, because I thought the whole idea of prostitute housewives, it was a really cool idea. Like, I was just like, oh, like, and that stuff, like, I did research, like, that was a thing back in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah, in France, that was a very, very big thing. But it was weird how they portrayed it. It, like, I was like, it looks like a decent time. It looks like a regular 9 to 5. It doesn't look like how they portrayed it in Vivre sa vie.
Exactly, like, and that's the thing. They also kind of normalized prostitution. Like, this woman didn't look like a prostitute. This woman kind of just looked like an everyday, respectable person. Not that, a prostitute always has to look like a crack addict, because that's usually how they look in movies. So I wasn't expecting that, but I wasn't expecting how, like, this woman would. Well, first of all, let's talk about how she would drop her kids off at a daycare/brothel. So the kids would be in one room, and then you see a door open, and there's just two people,
Yeah, like, and her kid's crying her head off, like, mama, and it's like, and it was so long. Why they have the kid crying for so long?
I mean, I think it was just to show, like, she would literally drop her kids off at the, the little, it's like going to work and they have a little
With the
daycare.
pimp.
Yeah.
With the pimp.
And he's like, kids, let's read. And I was like, this is really strange. But yeah, she'd leave her kids there and she'd go out and, like, walk the streets and go to stores in between, have a little lunch break. It was a very normal, what it seemed, job at the time. So I really, really, really liked that. And I was really interested. I would hope that someone would make a more in-depth film about just that kind of concept and make characters, like, what their day-to-day lives are, because I was really interested in that. I really like one of the quotes the main character says. I don't know it word for word, but I did write down what it was about. She was in the room and she was about to, prostitute herself. And she goes, I'm not really ashamed of what I do, but she says, I'm ashamed that I liked it. Like, I like having freedom. And she was just going on how, like, it's kind of looked down upon even for a woman to be independent. She's like, how, basically she was saying, like, for a woman in that time to be, like, have sexual liberty, it's very looked upon, like, down upon. And she even feels, like, ashamed that she kind of likes what she does. So I thought, like, if they made a movie just about what was going on there and different characters about, like, housewife property, because at the end of the movie, she goes home to her husband. She's just like, yeah, everything was good.
I didn't like that dude from the get-go. I was like, nah, this dude, like, he was fiddling, like, listening about, like, I don't know if he was listening to, like, intel, like, American, like, FBI, CIA intel about the war. But, like, from the get-go, I was like, I don't really care for this character. And even when, like, there's a scene where he's talking to a stranger and they discuss the topic about sex, he was super creepy in that scene.
Yeah.
Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
Where he's just, like, telling the girl, like, oh, if you're not afraid of sex, like, you can repeat this stuff. And it, like, the idea was having her repeat that, she had sex organs between her legs. And it was just very, like, for a second I was like, well, Jean-Luc, I'm not a fan of this deviation from, this commercialism. I mean, I do understand how it coincides with the whole prostitution and everything, but it just seemed, I don't know, it's relatable, but at the same time, unrealistic, the film. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they were trying to go for, like, okay, like, the husband is comfortable with his wife being a prostitute, and I felt like that's what they were trying to portray in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. I thought it was really creepy, and I didn't necessarily care for it that much. I didn't care for him either. Like, just any part of the movie.
It doesn't help that, like, you hear that and then you hear, like, the like, minutes after. It's not a comforting film by any means.
No, it makes you uncomfortable at some point.
It's unsettling.
Yeah,
it's truly unsettling. But
yeah,
what else?
the whole the commentary on Vietnam, I know what they were trying to go for. I kind of realized at some point in the film, like when everybody talked about the Vietnam War, it was very almost mellow, kind of like whatever.
It is what it is type of deal.
Yeah, and I felt like he was trying to say like nobody cares, this and that. I felt like if he was really trying to go, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know exactly what he was trying to 100% go for in the film, but if he was trying to talk about more of the unfairness of war and how like nobody cares if it doesn't concern them, I felt like he definitely could have done a little bit of a better job because I didn't really understand what the significance of the war was until like later on in the film.
It was more avant-garde than documentary, you
Yeah.
know? Like, it was definitely more out there. It wasn't like it was the total opposite of spoon-feeding you information. It was like, "Oh, you wanna know what this is? You know, that the plot is 40 yards away. Run for it."
Literally,
Like,
it's just
that's
like,
what
you want to know what this movie's about? Think about it 3 hours afterwards.
Yeah,
Figure it out for
sleep on it.
yourself.
Come back and
Figure
then
it out.
sleep on it.
The movie is what you think it is. That's literally what I feel like he was trying to do. Take everything I gave to you, take all the quotes, the little whispers, the plot, and figure it out for yourself.
Now, from a directorial standpoint, I thought the movie was shot very well. There were a lot of scenes, there were a lot of shots in it that I did enjoy. And like I had mentioned, the espresso scene, and I do like the placement of everything. In film, they call that. I learned it's called mise en scène, where it's like the placement of things. And I could be totally butchering that. I could be totally wrong. That's just what I remember. I don't have a degree. Don't take everything I say so seriously. But I like the placement of things. I like the feel that the images portrayed,
Yes.
especially the end scene, the close-ups, and even how, the main character Juliet and her friend were shown. I liked everything from the lighting, I liked the angles, and I liked how in a way the camera even itself didn't give away a lot of what was going on. It was more like a I don't know how to explain it, but usually like a camera is kind of sometimes that connection between not knowing what's going on and then figuring out the plot. That
Yeah.
camera wasn't there. It wasn't like helping you out. In other ways, it was kind of like taking you back farther away from the plot with the choices of angles and the choices that the director decided to show these characters, which I thought was cool. I thought it was interesting. It's not like, just point and shoot at different angles. Like it's got like a nice medley of good cinematography and, good direction. Now with this, and this is something that that is on the Criterion channel as well. So I saw this after I watched the movie because it came up in a little bubble and was like, oh, watch this. And it is called 2 or 3 Things I Know About Her Concordance. And if anyone has seen the movie or is going to see the movie, I highly recommend that you watch it with this little 8-minute short film where it's a video essay that talks about the different articles and the different quotations and things that you might not understand. Like sometimes when you hear that narration, it's not necessarily relevant to what's going on the screen at some points. So what's really nice is that there's this little video essay that actually tells you where it's from, what it means, and almost like its significance to that scene. It doesn't actually say it, but for me, it made me appreciate the film more with how things lined up. And I definitely recommend it, whether you have seen it or you haven't seen it or you're going to see it. I definitely recommend the video essay because it put things like I went from thinking this is okay, I'll probably watch it once and never see it again, to now going, okay, now that I know this information, I kind of want to go back and watch it again. So I really, if you have the opportunity to watch the video essay about it, I recommend it. But Savanna, like even without, because you didn't see the video essay, what did you think about the movie overall? Would you recommend it? Like, what is your solid thoughts on the movie?
So I would recommend the movie to people that appreciate the director, like you were saying, that liked his work. I do feel like the movie is like beautifully done. I like a lot of the scenery. I like the settings. I love the clothes in the movie. I love the fashion. I like
Mm-hmm.
the 1960s. It's definitely, like I said, almost like a visual collage. So people that like those kind of movies, I feel like would really, really appreciate it. Um, I wouldn't recommend this movie to like, a lot of people, like my husband, like my husband again, he would never watch that. And just people that don't, this is not a movie you're going to show to your friends that aren't into film. That's
Yeah,
what
no,
I'm going
this
to
is
say.
something where if you're nerdy like us, you might show it to other nerds of equivalence.
Yeah.
But it's not something like I wouldn't go up to my parents and be like, "Mama, Papa, you have to see this movie." Like I wouldn't. I mean,
Dude,
I wouldn't do that for any situation. But
I'm gonna
I
sort of
wouldn't.
call out our friends here. So guys, just to give you a little, like, I love our friend group, but me and Stephanie are basically the only film nerds, really. And
Yeah.
our friend Caitlin, she likes movies too, and she likes pretty good movies. So I applaud her for her taste. Shout out to Caitlin. So we're on Netflix party, and she's like, "Let's watch Dallas Buyers Club." And I really like that film. I think it's a good film. All right, it's good. It's got characters. Matthew McConaughey, Jared Leto does a great job.
But it's not like a friend film, It's not like, oh, we're gonna all Netflix and chill collectively on the internet. Like that's not,
I
especially
agree.
during a pandemic.
I agree,
Savanna.
but it's not like this movie. You can enjoy that movie and appreciate it, and it's got a pretty like interesting plot. It's pretty. I think you could catch up with it. It's not like nerds. That's the best way I could put it. Like a normal person that just enjoys movies could like it. So I'm like, okay, you know what? It's not a bad movie. The plot is pretty fast.
And it's only an hour and a half. It don't feel like it. Sure as hell didn't feel like it.
Yeah,
but it's only an hour and a half.
It's a pretty fast plot. Like you're gonna keep up with it. You're gonna be interested, guys. When I tell you, most of my friends are like, "Oh my god, that movie was so hard to keep up with." Like, I was so boring, and I'm just like, I can never show
meanwhile,
you guys.
I showed you Jean Dillman, 23 Quadre du Commerce, that 4-hour movie shot in real time. Like,
and I got through that.
People don't know slow until you've seen that movie, or even this movie, because this movie, even though it's not a while, it feels forever.
It's a
that's the biggest downfall. I would recommend this movie to so many more people if it didn't feel like a 4-hour saga.
It really did.
And if it was just the 1 hour and 30. Because at first I was like, Savanna, you told me too, you were like, hey, watch out. It feels long, and I looked at, I'm like, it's an hour and 30. Like, relax. And then I watched it. I was like, oh god. Like, I kept having to pause. If you're gonna watch this, drink Red Bull, coffee, espresso,
Don't
whatever
watch
you
it
need to
at
get
night.
through it.
It's not a night movie. Watch it when you're nice and energized after the gym, when you have the attention span for it, because it's an hour and a half, but it feels an extra hour longer. But oh, just to get off topic a little bit, that movie Stephanie recommended, what was it, the movie you just said, the French film?
Jean Dillman, 23 Quadre du Commerce, Brussels.
Yes, that whole thing is a film on the Criterion Channel. So I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. When I tell you there's a scene of that woman making soup for 20 minutes, yes.
You don't even learn the recipe. That's the crappy thing, too. I'd watch 20 minutes to learn a recipe, but you don't learn the recipe.
It's literally just a woman making soup.
I definitely would recommend this film over that. And you know what? Those films are similar. Like, not to just bring up Jean Dillman, but like, let's be real. Like, it's probably the closest comparison, even as closer to Vis-a-Vis. Because remember, in Jean Dillman, even though she makes soup for like 20 minutes, she's also a housewife / prostitute.
Yeah, and listen, I love the concept of those movies. I love the idea because, I feel like that could have a really interesting plot. Because this woman, prostitute housewives usually have kids, have a husband. But I'd really love to see more conflict in these movies about that. Like, there's not a lot of conflict. There's just a lot.
It just shows like their life, carried on
day-to-day
vivaciously, like
day-to-day activities. So like going to the store and then 20 minutes with the soup. I definitely recommend this film over that one because at least a good amount of things happen in this.
Yeah, because if this one feels like 2.5 hours, 3 hours, John Dillman feels 8 hours. Like, minimum it feels 8 hours. Like, I remember just sitting in my little den watching Jean Dillman, and I was like, oh my god, I'm watching this woman make soup, and I don't even know what she's making. If she spoke right now, I don't understand what she's saying. And I don't regret seeing that film, but oh my God, it's gonna, when we pass by this on our list of movies to get through, it's definitely the one I'm gonna like just complain about, be like, oh, like I don't.
Yeah, I'm not excited to watch that again. Not that it was a bad movie. It's just it's a day consumer. But anyway, just to get back on topic, I appreciated the film. I appreciate the film. I'm glad I saw it. For me, it's a 6.5 out of 10, just because really I appreciated the commentary. I love the setting. I love that it's visual. But it's just not a movie I'd see again, realistically.
I agree. I would probably give it, like, you give it what, 6.5?
Yeah.
I'm feeling that range. Maybe even a 6.6. That feels right with me. That resonates with me. I for me, because I enjoyed the shots, I enjoyed the direction, I enjoyed how it was different. You're not going to see a movie like that. Even though we just did that little comparison to Gene Dillman, they're still eons away from each other in comparison. It's just so hard to, find a film like this. So I'm happy I watched it. Am I going to tell everyone I know? No. Will I tell some film nerds? Yeah, of course. But if you are contemplating of watching this, look, you want to bite the bullet, go ahead. You may or may not regret it because it's just so long. But if you do like philosophy, psychology, and if you're into all that stuff, I think you'll like it. I think you'll be like, oh, okay, I'm happy I watched it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be in your top 5.
I agree. But yeah, I also wanted to say that her friend kind of looked like Lana Del Rey a little bit. That's how I...
And I'm looking at the main woman, and all of a sudden, like, every time I'm like writing stuff down, and I'm like, I like hot Donna's outfit because she looks like Donna from that 70s show, just a little more Russian.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. Yeah, they definitely look like both celebrities. I was just
I didn't notice the Lana Del Rey, but now I'm thinking about it, it's like, yeah, she had the nose and the eyes.
Yeah, and when she first came on the screen, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then she turned out to be a prostitute too, and I'm like, oh my God.
Also, I like to point out, off topic, but in the last episode, I kept comparing one of the characters to Martin Sheen. I'm wrong. It's not Martin Sheen. I messed up the last name. It's Martin, and I still now can't remember the last name.
Who are you talking about then?
Remember Maurice?
Yeah, but I thought I think he looks like Martin Sheen.
But no. I'm talking about the one who was in crap. What was he in? The only thing I remember him on was he was on 30 Rock, and he played a character named Wesley Snipes. Martin. Oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember it. I wrote it down in the video too in the comments. I was like, hey, I messed up, guys. But even like when I was telling my dad, he's like, he don't look like Martin Sheen. He looks like the other Martin. And I'm like, crap.
I thought he looked like Martin Sheen too.
No, not Martin Sheen. It's oh God.
Wait, am I confusing Martin Sheen with somebody?
I think you are. Martin Sheen is Charlie Sheen's dad. He don't look like Charlie Sheen's dad.
Wait a minute. That's Charlie Sheen's dad? That's who I'm thinking
Martin
I don't know why I was thinking of... No, I'm not thinking of him. I'm thinking of somebody else.
The dude from oh my God. What else has he been in? I literally only remember him from 30 Rock. I remember him on an episode of British Bake Off, but that doesn't help. Hold on, I have it right here.
We might be thinking about the same person.
Michael Sheen. That's who it is.
What?
It's Michael Sheen, the dude who was in Underworld.
Give me something else.
What do you mean, give you something else?
I need something. Where else is he from? Stephanie, because I have this picture in my head. Because I just looked at Martin Sheen. It's not Martin Sheen. That was not the person I was thinking of.
Oh, he's on the new show with crap. What's the Heaven and the... I don't know why I cannot remember this. I have the best memory too.
Because okay. I think we're talking about the same thing now. Because I was thinking of the guy from the Amazon Prime show, what is it? Angels and Omens? And...
Yes.
That's not Martin Sheen?
That's Michael Sheen. Martin Sheen is in Apocalypse Now. That's Charlie Sheen's dad.
I didn't think his name was... I don't know what I thought his name was. I thought he was Spanish. I thought his name was like Ramon. Or Geraldo.
No, it's similar. No. Michael... Martin Sheen is not his real last name. It's... Oh, crap.
Because I could have sworn
he is Spanish.
Charlie Sheen's dad was like Mexican. I could be wrong, but that because I'm also thinking about his son in Breakfast Club. He has Estevez. Is that his name?
Yeah, so that's his actual last name, I believe.
Okay, that's who I thought Martin Sheen was. No, okay, so we've been on the same page this whole time, just different.
We were on the same page, but the world wasn't on the same page. His name, Martin Sheen's real name is Ramon Estevez.
It's Omen.
He's also, now I realize, yes, he's also on Grace and Frankie.
Yeah, Grace and Frankie.
That's Charlie Sheen's dad.
That's not who I was thinking of at all. No, I was thinking of Omens or something from Amazon
Good
Prime.
Omens, yes.
Oh, Good Omens.
That's who I meant, because they have the last name. And so when I kept saying Martin Sheen, meanwhile, the correction is I meant to say Michael Sheen.
Well, it's okay.
So if anyone had listened, if any of our 2 listeners had listened, I'm sorry, I made the mistake. I said Martin Sheen, not Michael Sheen. But now hopefully when you go back, now you're not going to think, damn, this girl can't see well, because that does not look like Martin Sheen. But now hopefully you will look back at the cover of that actor, Maurice Ronay, and be like, oh, she's right now. So that is my ending takeaway.
We were trying, guys. Yeah, so I wanted to also say, since we finished up talking about 2 or 3, did you want to say anything else?
I mean, I just wanted to, clear up the whole Martin Sheen, Michael Sheen situation, because I was pretty embarrassed about that.
It's okay. It's okay. I just wanted to say that. So I just wanted to mention what our next episode, the movie, is, because I thought it would be a cool idea if we kind of give you what movie we're reviewing next, so you guys could maybe watch it before they come here. I think
smart. Okay, you give a little introduction to our next film.
So the next film we are going to watch it's actually a personal favorite of mine, believe it or not. It's called The Virgin Suicides, and it was directed by
Coppola.
It was Sofia Coppola's, I think, debut film. I'm not going to give away too much of the plot, but I actually really like this film. I saw it in high school. I have the Criterion DVD for it. I've been trying to show Stephanie.
Look at you, a little fan.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm not a big Sofia Coppola fan, but I realized I was like, I do like that movie and Lost in Translation, if you've seen that with Bill Murray. So I do like a few of her films. I also saw The Bling Ring. Not a fan. Just want to throw that out there. But I really, really like what she did with Virgin Suicide. So I've been trying to show this film to Stephanie for a while, and I'm happy that we're both going to talk about it next episode.
And the last thing I want to mention is that if there's any weird, if you're looking at what we talk about and it's it kind of seems all over the place. Wednesdays, our film is going to be from numbers to A to Z of Criterion. So we're just going through the main list. And then Fridays is me and Savanna gets to pick movies that we like and that we want to talk about. So we kind of switch up. So if you're like, how are we going from, 2 or 3 things I know about her to Virgin Suicides, and then following after that is another film that has nothing to do with each other. It's because on Wednesdays we're going through A to Z, or technically number to Z, with all the Criterion films, and then Fridays is our pick. So it may not be Criterion on Fridays, it might be. It just depends on how we feel, what we want to talk about, and things like that. Yeah. I just want to elaborate in case anyone was like, this is a weird schedule.
No, I
agree. There's a method to our madness.
I agree. We should have probably said that earlier. Yeah, so usually our Sunday episodes are going to be something we picked. Virgin Suicide just happens to be in the Criterion collection, but I think we're also going to be talking about films that we just like in general on Sundays. So look out for those. And we're also going to have a special bonus episode at one point. That could be either a TV show or a movie that we just saw and we want to talk about. So those are really fun too. So that's something to look forward to.
And those are going to be random. The bonus episodes are just going to happen whenever it happens. It just gives us, in case something comes up, something is now available on Netflix or Hulu, something that we want to talk about.
Yeah,
that'll be kind of what our bonus episodes are for. But thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed our little off-topic rants about cookies, about
Martin Sheen.
John Dillman, Martin Sheen, the Martin and Michael Sheen battle. Hope you guys enjoyed. And you will be hearing us talk about Virgin Suicides on Sunday. So take care, be safe, be well, and I don't know, live, laugh, love. What do I say?
Don't say that. Stay safe, guys, out there.
And we'll see you on Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.